Hello there, I'm making this video actually for anyone who might be about to have a CT heart scan because I've just had one and I just wanted to share my experience with you on this little video. And on the time leading up to it, they've found something going on here purely by chance actually when I was in the doctors for something else. Anyway, so a heart scan was booked. It was booked at the Royal Free Hospital. And after some time had passed, a couple of months actually, I got a letter telling me that I was being transferred for the scan to a special scan place in Edgware, a place called TIC Health. So that's where I've been this afternoon. On the period leading up to the scan, the weeks before, I was getting very anxious about the whole thing. I had an idea, and I have had two scans before, both on my lungs when I had this cough which wouldn't go away for some time. And I remember the first time I saw the machine in there, big donut type affair. It's not one of those like long tube ones. A CT scan is like a big donut type thing, right? And if that wasn't bad enough, once I'd got used to that in this particular place last year, they told me they were going to inject me with some dye and it would make me feel really funny. Well, that was enough to set me off completely. And in the end, I had the scan without the dye, and that was fine, actually. However, this time was a bit different. So I got to TLC Health in Edgware. Booked in at the receptionist lady, ever such a nice lady. Oh, it was a man actually. It was a man, and then they changed shifts to a lady later on. Both of them really nice. And a man came out and got me after I'd been sitting in this little private imaging place for some time, and started talking to me, and I'm like sitting there like this, really anxious about the whole thing. It did help that I had my mate with me as well, and I mean that made a huge difference, having a friend with you as well. Eventually I had a form came around, and you had to fill in this form, asking you various questions about your present health and any sort of drugs that you're on, or anything like that. So you just fill that out and tell them what pills and drugs that you're on. And then I went in to see a GP. You're going to see a GP first, who then runs through the whole affair. Tells you what's what, asks you lots of questions, again, about your health, takes your blood pressure, this. And then it came to the subject of this injection that you have. You also have a little spray thing that they put under your tongue. This opens up your arteries, apparently, and stuff in your heart. So it makes the CT scanner, takes the x-rays, they look a lot better. And it's easier for them, I think, to look at. This is how it was explained to me. But then you have to have this stuff put in your arm. So you have a cannula. And then a dye of some sort, right? And he told me the dye would make me feel a little bit funny. I said, okay, what does it make you feel? And I already knew this from the last time that I refused to have the dye. It makes you, or I was told, it makes you feel like you want to go to the toilet, as in wee. He said, but you won't. I promise you won't. Okay, anything else? Yes. He said it'll probably make you feel quite warm all over. But that only lasts a few seconds. And I'm thinking, you know what people are like when they say a few seconds. Well, what do you mean by a few seconds? 5 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. He said about 3 or 4 seconds. Oh, okay. You see, the last time I had something done, they didn't tell me that. They just said I would feel strange. They didn't tell me it would be the 3 or 4 seconds. He said, is that the longest? He said, if it went to 10 seconds, I'd be very surprised. It doesn't go to 10 seconds. Okay, fine. So I was a bit calmer in there. He'd done my blood pressure, a little bit on the high side, to be expected when you go in and see anything medical and you're very nervous about the whole thing. And heart rate as well. Now, this was another thing. They need the heart rate to be low, sort of below around sort of 60, I believe. Now, I'm lucky because I do an awful lot of exercise, and I have done for the last 30 years. My heart rate is naturally low anyway. I can sit here at night, do a blood pressure thing and a heart rate and get like 56, 57, 58 sometimes, which is quite low. The norm, I think, is sort of 70, 75, something like that, all right? He did tell me if your heart rate isn't low enough, they're going to have to give me another drug to slow the heart rate down. Reason being, the CT scan is a still image. So they don't want the heart to be moving around very quickly. Otherwise, all they get is a blur. Similar to you taking a photograph of someone running. If they're running too fast, you just get this blur. Same thing with doing a heart CT scan. And I was very nervous of someone putting something in me to slow down my heart rate. But he said, we don't have problems here when we do it. We just do it. Okay, so that came and went. And now we're ready to move into the into where the big machine is. So open the door, and the other bloke that I saw earlier on, an absolutely delightful man called Rain. He was from the Philippines, and he was so calm speaking and just trying to calm you down and put your mind at ease. I asked for my mate to come in as well, and he was allowed in there while we were doing the prep. Not while they're doing the CT scan, because then it's x-rays and things bouncing around the place. So he came in and he said, okay, if you have a little lie down there, I'll talk you through it all as we go along, step by step. There's no rush. You take your time and all this business. And I'm laying there. And they put a blanket over me to keep me warm. I didn't have to take my T-shirt off. And they've attached heart sticky things there and there, you know, okay, to keep an eye on my heart rate. I am now shaking. The anxiety has all come back since I was in the doctor's waiting room, and it took them some time to calm me down. My mate as well. I kept looking at him and looking at the bloke, and at no point did you feel forced to carry on, if you see what I mean. Anyway, as time went on, they're watching this little heart rate thing. He said, it is still a little bit too high. Let's try some breathing. He said, breathe in, and the machine tells you to breathe in and breathe out. He said, listen, this is what you're going to hear. And he pushes a button and this machine says, breathe in. And you breathe in like that and let go. And he said, you can do deep breaths or shallow breaths. Doesn't matter. But when it says breathe in, you breathe in, hold it and let it go when she tells you to let it go. And it's anywhere sort of between 5 and 10 seconds that you have to hold your breath. And I didn't have any problem doing that. But the heart rate was bouncing around all over the place. When I was calming down, it was coming down. When I was getting anxious again, it was going up. And like I said to you, the anxiety part of it was the thought that they're going to put something into me and it's going to make me feel really weird. Rain, the radiographer, continued to talk to me in a very calm manner, very gentle, very understanding, quietly explaining stuff to me, never once raising his voice or making the situation any worse than how I felt it was. My mate just looked at me and I'm holding his hand really tight. And he continued to talk to me. He said, when you're ready to do this, just let me know. We'll do one thing at a time. If it's all right with you, I'd first like to put the cannula in the arm. Okay, I said, oh, no, that's not what he did first. First thing he did was put this spray under my tongue. So, yeah, lift the tie up like that, right? And he sprays, he waits a little while and gives another one. He said, right. And he did warn me first, this may give me a headache or a funny taste, bitter taste in my mouth. I've got to tell you, the taste was not unpleasant. Not really. I had no problem with the taste and no headache either. Okay, fair enough. Part 1 done. Right. Remember I told you this spray is to dilate your arteries so it comes up better on the CT scan thing. Then he asked if he could put the cannula in my arm, and I said, yep, okay, go on, go for it. So I'm not afraid of needles, but I don't look, if you see what I mean. So as soon as I saw him get this little bag out, or whatever he had there, I looked the other way at my mate. And I could feel him. He tried this arm first, but that wasn't very good. So he went over to this arm and they swapped sides. And he put that, one of those elastic things around the top, and I'm having to squeeze my hand like that. And he said, right, I'm going to put it in now. And he put it in. And I'll admit, it hurt a little bit. A little bit more than perhaps the normal thing when people take your blood and have a look at it. But the actual pain was the sharp needle bit, which lasted a second, if that, just a second. And then I moved my arm and it hurt a bit again. Oh, he said, oh, sorry. And he just made an adjustment like that. Okay, how does that feel? It's okay. Is it hurting at all? No. All right. He said, I'm going to have to flush it through. Okay, with saline. You probably won't feel anything. But what I want to do is push it slowly first. And if it hurts at all, let me know. And then I'll push it in hard. And once again, let me know. So he done a really gentle one. He said, how's that feel? I can't feel anything. Okay. Right, here comes the hard one. Ready? Yeah. And push it in again. Couldn't feel anything. He said, right, excellent. That's all in place now. And then he said, as I was still anxious here, the heart rate's going up and down. And they basically spent a lot of time trying to calm me down so that they didn't have to give me this drug to slow my heart down. When I was calm, it was dropping back down to sort of roughly normal when I'm calm, which is about 62 to me, 60 to 62, which probably for you is a bit low, unless, like me, you do a lot of exercise. After some time, he said, right, I want to do some preliminary scans on you. Okay. I said, is this stuff going to go in my arm now? He said, no, we'll do the preliminary scans first, and then we'll do that later. This is what I was told. Okay. So after a while, my mate left the room, and he says, I have to leave the room as well, as in him. He said, but I can hear everything going on in here, and if you want to talk to me, just talk. He said, the machine will tell you when to breathe or not. Okay, fine. Out he went. I'm laying on this machine. He said, right, you ready? Okay, yeah, fine. And I saw the machine coming towards me. Remember, it's just a donut type thing. It's quite big, but you're not, you don't feel like you're suffocating. You're not in like an enclosed space, right? So as I see the machine coming towards me, I close my eyes, just like that. I don't really need to see what's going on. Just let them go on. How are you feeling? Yeah, okay, all right. This machine's going back and forward, and you can hear fans going on in the machine. And it feels like I was on there for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. It was going backwards, click, 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 backwards and forward. Now and again it would stop, and he was saying, how are you feeling? I didn't really say much, to be honest. Right? And it stopped for a while. And my arms were like this, and this arm had started to get a bit cold because it was stuck up like this a little bit, really. And all of a sudden I got this funny feeling. And I went, oh, just like that. And the feeling was, and I'm going to be absolutely honest with you here, it was a strange feeling in my arm. It went down my side into my men's parts. Not the long one, the little one, the balls, okay? I'm telling you this, so if you ever have to go through it, you'll understand. All it was a very warm sensation in my balls. okay? And I'm like, have you put something in? And then the machine starts moving forward, click, 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 back, and it stopped. And next thing I know, okay, you're all done. And Rain's standing there smiling. Am I? He said, yeah, it's all done. Oh, did you put that stuff in my arm? He said, first of all, I want to apologise. Yes, I did. But I didn't want to tell you because you were so anxious. Remember, they know how it is. It's the very fact that you don't know what it's really like that is the problem with the anxiety. And as I say, they told me I would feel funny. What do you mean by that? You know, really ill suddenly or what? You don't know. You don't know until you have it done. And the only feeling I got in there was suddenly a funny sensation in my arm and my balls got warm. Not hot, warm. And that was it, basically. And the time that happened was approximately 3 seconds. No longer than that. Suddenly I felt a bit odd and then I felt all right again. It was really that quick. And he's standing there and he says, I also need to tell you now that the scan that you've had, the heart CT scan, is one of the more intense ones, if you see. If you ever have a scan for anything else, it will not be as bad as this. Wow, okay. He said also, the needle that went in your arm was that big. And Ronnie said, yeah, I saw that. That's why I said to you, just look straight at me. Apparently the needle was really long. But it doesn't matter because I didn't really feel it. Just don't look. If you've got to have a needle in you and you don't like needles, don't look. It's not hard. Look the other way. He said to me, although that needle was out, if you have other scans, it's probably going to be less than half that size. And he was just telling me the bits and pieces that I'd now experienced. He said, so can I ask you, how was the experience for you now that it's all over? And this is the bit I want to share with you, right? It was fine. It was fine. There was no real pain at all, other than the little needle going in your arm, approximately a second. The ink stuff going into you was fine. I was lucky. My heart remained at a reasonable pace, so they didn't have to give me the heart slowing down drug. When I got up, I was slightly lightheaded. He said, but that's quite normal, especially you've just been laying down for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. Must have been something like that in there. And then after that, they leave the cannula in your arm because they want to see if you have any allergic reaction to the dye that they've put in you. So I went outside and sat in the waiting room with the cannula still in my arm. After 15 minutes, 2 nurses came out. How are you feeling? I said, I've got a little minor headache, really minor there, which actually is still on here now about what we now like. I'm making this like about 5 hours since the procedure. But it's very, very minor and it'll probably go, I think, once I've been asleep. So okay, well, let us give you a few more minutes then. Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to sit here as long as you want me to. Fine. So they've disappeared. My mate sitting next to me, and they came back some time later. I said, how are you feeling now? I said, fine, really. It's just a very minor headache. Apart from that, I don't have any problems at all. Okay, well, we'll take the cannula out. And they took it out. And I still didn't look at the needle. I just know it was that long because the radiographer guy told me, and so did my mate who watched it going in. And that was it. I couldn't fault the clinic at all. Very professional, very efficient, very considerate, very empathetic. I don't suppose I'm the only one that's gone in there and been almost in pieces at one point before the actual procedure. Once the music, I'm so glad he didn't tell me all these things like long needle and when he put the dye in. I'm so glad he just did it. Because if they say, right, we're going to put the dye in now, immediately you become anxious again, don't you? And that would have shoved my heart rate all the way back up again just by literally doing it. And I felt something. And then within a couple of seconds, the machine started moving. So he must have taken the pictures quickly while my heart rate was down. But the feeling itself, I got to tell you, was not an unpleasant experience. This feeling of this stuff that they put in you, it wasn't unpleasant in any way, shape or form. Perhaps you've had the same thing and had a completely different experience. Do feel free to share it in the comments section down there. And that's it. And here I'm sitting here now. What is it now? About five hours after the procedure, and I feel fine. I feel fine, and I'm still glad it's over then. As I say, I made this video, so if you ever have a CT heart scan, I think it might be called an anagram or something like that. If you ever have one like that and you're a little bit worried about the injection, please don't be. Don't be like me, honestly. Most of the time in there was spent trying to calm me down. If I'd been calm and gone in, I think I would have been in and out in like half an hour. There's nothing to worry about, honestly. Please take my experience for that. All right? Like I say, if you've got any comments or you've had a different experience or the same one, please feel free to put a comment down there, and we'll all have a little read of those. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps you in some way. Cheerio now.